What's going on YouTube? So just last year, Honda extensively refreshed the Civic lineup, adding things including the long-awaited hybrid model.
And now we're with the latest 2026 example in a sporty, all-black sport hybrid trim level.
So we want to know, is there anything different this year? And is this the compact car that you should buy? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Like always, let's start out under the hood with our quick spec dump. So for 2026, the Civic continues to be offered in both gas and hybrid versions. This hybrid version is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors making 200 horsepower. It's paired to an eCVT-like transmission, and combined fuel economy is 49 mpg.
Now the base price for the Civic this year is $24,500, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on, we'll show you the performance of the hybrid model out on the road. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, and at the end discussing resale and reliability.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior as well as the interior. Now, like Mason was saying in the introduction, we've got the fully blacked out sport trim level, which I think really is very nice looking on this Civic model. For 2026, it continues to be offered with 4 different trim levels. 3 of those 4 trims have the sport elements. So you'll notice up in the front, of course, you've got that signature honeycomb grille, more aggressive looking lower fascia running through here. And then as far as the headlights, we've got, of course, full LED headlights. These are reflector LEDs across all of the trim levels as standard equipment. You've got your LED daytime running light and turn signal indicator right through there. There are no fog lights available. And then around back, of course, you've got that signature Civic design, but we've got 3 changes for 2026.
May I add, really big changes. Just kidding. Nothing too significant, but you will notice that all of your badging is now going to be blacked out. So when I said blacked out at the beginning, I truly meant it. Every badge back here, besides for the Honda logo, is going to be blacked out, which I think is a nice update for the 2026 model year. Now, as far as the taillights are concerned, they are going to be a partially LED setup. So as you can see, we have an LED brake light, incandescent reverse light, and incandescent turn signal. And then as we drop down to the lower fascia, we're not going to have any exposed exhaust outlets or anything like that, even despite this being the sport version.
Moving to the wheels, you've got a few different choices. Only the LX will give you the 16-inch alloys with the hubcaps over top. These are the 18-inch gloss black alloys that come on the sport trim, and then you get one with more contrast if you choose the sport touring trim. Up top here, we've got, of course, mirrors that come with blind spot monitoring and heating. You get those features on all but the base LX trim.
Now at the side of the Civic Sedan, you're coming in at an overall vehicle length of 184.8 inches. Now I do want to point out there is also a hatchback offered, so if you want a little bit more of a sporty design when it comes to the rear, as well as a little bit more cargo space, you can get that hatchback model. Now we also have blacked out window surrounds for the sport trim level, and as far as the safety systems are concerned, I'm very happy to tell you that Honda is including all of those as standard equipment regardless of what trim level you select, including adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist. But guys, we need to go ahead and talk about the inside and what you're going to get in there. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. All right, moving to the interior, we'll first look at the key fob as always, if I don't drop it first. We've got the signature Honda key fob. You have standard smart entry and remote start on the sport trim and above. Now getting inside, just reach behind the handle, that will unlock the door. Then we can take a look at the interior. We'll start by talking about the seats as always. The LX is going to come standard with a cloth seat. When you choose one of the sport trim levels, that's where you get this cloth and leatherette combination seat. So as you can see, you got that kind of design right there in the middle. It's a little bit of a different feel to the cloth than the LX trim, and then the leatherette along the outside edges. You get the full leatherette treatment if you get the Sport Touring trim level. Now, as far as color options, most models come with just the black, but if you get a hybrid model, then you also get the additional color option of gray with certain exterior colors. The seats themselves are manual adjusting unless you get the fully loaded Sport Touring. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Closing up the door there, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. We'll start out over here on the door trim. As you just saw, we have a cloth seat, so that same material is reflected up on the armrest and center section as well, although you still get the piano black trim. This is hard touch plastic up here, but the rest of the dashboard is a soft touch plastic, more piano black surrounding our single vent effect, and then we have kind of a faux carbon fiber trim through here. Hard touch plastic, as you expect for this price point, but everything is super solid, which is something that I think stands out about Honda's versus some of their competition. And we'll fire it up now with the push button start. Jumping right into some individual features, we've got our gauge cluster. First up, this is Honda's half digital, half analog. So as you can probably tell over here on the left side, this is your reconfigurable area where you can do things like check your range or, put the power flow of the hybrid system if you so desire right there. You get the full digital cluster though if you get the fully loaded Sport Touring. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, we've got Honda's latest design here, a little bit of gloss black accenting, and if you want the leatherette wrapping, you have to choose at least the Sport trim level. The steering wheel itself is manual tilt and telescoping. As far as interior storage, this might be a, relatively small, compact sedan, but Honda really worked their packaging magic, as they always do, because inside of our center console here, you're going to notice there's quite a few donuts. Now, of course, here at Car Confections, we like to do the donut test because that's our logo, and we can compare this to rivals by how many donuts it fits in the console. Today we have 12, so that passes the dozen donut test, and is certainly more than the average vehicle in this class, including Corolla. Up in front, we've got our two cup holders. We've got a nice large area where you can stick a phone or something like that, but it will only have a wireless phone charging pad on the Sport Touring. As far as the shifter, just a traditional style shifter, pull back for drive. The paddle shifters on the steering wheel are for regen when you're talking about the hybrid. And then when we go into reverse, here's our standard backup camera. You've got active trajectory, and you have 3 different views you can choose from across the entire lineup. But if you want front and back parking sensors, that is on the loaded model. Back behind that, you got your drive mode selection, and you also have an electronic parking brake with brake hold. Now, as we continue our tour of the cabin, we come to the center section here. We've got a dual zone automatic climate system that is standard on this Sport Hybrid. That's where it begins. If you go below that, you're going to have a single zone automatic setup. But regardless, you get these really nice and tactile feeling climate controls. Off to the side, you have heated seats. That is another one of the features that starts on the Sport Hybrid. So just to be clear, again, there is a gas Sport and there's a hybrid Sport. There's a few features. The climate and the heated seats are 2 of those features that are just on the Sport Hybrid versions. Now, moving on to the audio system next. This has an 8-speaker sound system. That's what most trim levels get, and we'll give it a sample right now. Overall, I like the sound quality of this. For a more affordable price tag, it fills up the cabin nicely, has a little bit of bass to it, and if you want a Bose sound system, you can still get that. You just need to get the Sport Touring trim. Alright, now let's move to the infotainment system. So, as you can probably tell, we're looking at a pretty small display. This is only 7 inches, and this is what you get on 3 out of the 4 trim levels. So if you get the very loaded Sport Touring trim, that will change this to a 9-inch display instead. So that would basically kind of fill out this entire area, whereas on this model, it's mostly just used for bezels and some additional buttons down here at the bottom. Now there's some core things that you're missing when you get this smaller display. You don't have Google built in, so you don't have access to Google Maps or anything like that. You also don't have wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You can still use those features, but you've got to plug in with a USB connection. The software itself is very basic, so you have to use these buttons down here to navigate between the different menus. Up top, we've got a manual dimming mirror. You get the auto dimming mirror on the fully loaded model. And then this is another one of those sport hybrid features that you get. That's the beginning of the sunroof, which does have a sunshade and of course opens up.
So let's go ahead and take a look at the rear seat area of the 2026 Honda Civic. Now, you'll be pleasantly surprised back here because just like the front of the cabin, there's a lot of space here in the rear as well. So we're sitting at 37 inches of both leg and headroom, which for this segment of vehicle makes this one of the very most spacious offerings that you can get in the entire segment. Now, I'm 5'9". For reference, this seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and of course we brought the official Car Confections ruler along. That way we can measure our knee room. We're sitting at 8 inches of knee room. That is really fantastic when it comes to the knee measurement. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. And the seats themselves do have a lot of padding. Honestly, these are very nice and comfortable rear seats, which honestly can't be said about the vast majority of its competition. Now, if we fold down the center armrest, we have a nice leatherette wrapped one with 2 cup holders inside. And as far as features are concerned, I do want to point out you're really just not going to have anything. So no vents, no USB ports on this trim level. There's also not going to be the option of a heated rear seat or anything like that. As far as the door trim is concerned, hard touch plastic pretty much from top to bottom, besides for the one pad for the armrest. There's also a little bit of door storage. Let's check out the cargo area as well. So in order to open it up, they have included a nice little button right there. And then as far as the overall cargo capacity of the Civic, that's coming in at around 15 cubic feet, about 14.5 for the sedan model. If you want more cargo space, you of course can get the hatchback version, which Honda says is around 24 cubic feet behind the second row of seats. Now, if you're curious as to how this might compare against other vehicle segments that you could be cross-shopping in, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we've looked at numerous vehicle segments and ranked them in individual categories based on the things that might matter more or less to you, things like cargo capacity, technology, powertrain choices, safety, resale, reliability. All of that is broken down for you. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Back to this model, though, I do want to point out the seats fold 60-40 split. That's actually a feature included on the sport trim levels and above. So if you go for that base model, it will either fold down in one piece or maybe not fold at all. Now, underneath of the cargo floor, you'll see a little bit of extra space, but one thing that you're not going to find is a spare tire, so keep that in mind, at least here on the hybrid variants. Let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures as well in case you're looking to haul something specific. About 39 inches of length is what you can expect. The opening comes in at 38 inches wide. Overall height, that's going to be 23 inches. And then the load-in height is going to be sitting at about 26 inches. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Honda Civic. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, but first, let's start with a hard acceleration.
All right, we were getting close to 60 miles per hour, but the light changed on us, and we were going a little uphill with our Civic Hybrid, of course. Now, when we're talking about the hybrid model, of course, what first comes to mind is increased fuel economy, but we also get a pretty significant bump in overall power. You have 200 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
You can really feel that electric torque get you off the line nicely. This is a pretty small package, so it's quite a bit of power for a vehicle like this, coming courtesy of a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine and 2 electric motors.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the hybrid system is a huge upgrade over the base engine. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you do pay for the hybrid. The hybrid does cost a bit more than the traditional sport Honda Civic, but as far as the base engine setup, that is also going to be a 2-liter 4-cylinder, not turbocharged or anything like that. 150 horsepower, 133 pound-feet of torque. So you can do the math on that. This gets 50 more horsepower and 100 pound-feet more torque. So, if you don't care much about power, you can go for the base engine option, save some money. That's certainly a fine choice. We've reviewed that on the channel if you'd like to check that video out. But I think for most people, this hybrid is going to be the more desirable engine setup.
The handoff between the gas and electric power is incredibly smooth, which is very typical for Honda's 2-motor hybrid system. And let's talk a little bit about the transmission situation. So this does not have a CVT on the hybrid models, but it does kind of behave a little bit like a CVT. We call it an eCVT-like transmission in its overall performance, but it has shift simulations if you want a little bit more of a traditional feel when you go heavy on the throttle. And then your traditional gas-powered model, that one does have a CVT.
As far as how power is routed to the ground, it's via the front wheels only. They still have not added all-wheel drive for the Honda Civic.
As we kind of go through that corner there a little hot and go around this little corner here, it's a great time to talk about the driving dynamics. It's a real highlight of this vehicle. It always has been. The Civic just has a very sporty character to it. Just great dynamics overall. And, you can tell as soon as you kind of enter in to corners that it just really behaves super nicely. The steering is nicely weighted as well. And overall, it's one of the sportiest options. It's certainly going to be better than your run-of-the-mill Corolla.
Alrighty, and I want to take a second to discuss overall ride quality for the Civic Sport Hybrid. Now, in this department, it rides just like every other Civic has for the last several years, which is a good thing because this vehicle is a very nice riding product. It does a great job of mixing kind of the sporty character that Drew was just talking about with also a lot of comfort. I think Honda's really good at that blend between the two things. And as you hit a bump in the road, you will feel some intrusion inside the cabin, but that's pretty much expected in this segment. And I think for the segment, this is one of the more comfortable options, honestly.
And I will say, even though these seats are cloth, I think they're reasonably comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to, we own a Camry hybrid, if you know, for our long-term tester. We drove that to the test area here for this vehicle, and I will say these seats are more comfortable than the ones that we have in our Camry.
Absolutely. Now let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going at 55 miles per hour. We do have it on fan speed 1. All right, 58.8 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading in this Civic Sport Hybrid. Now, we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition as well as other Civics in the lineup. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Now, on our website, you will notice that that's going to be on the louder end for this segment. The Civics typically do test out on the louder side, that's for sure. That's not one of this vehicle's strongest characteristics is how quiet the cabin is. One of the things Honda does is actually, as you go up the trim structure, they actually add more sound deadening. So this is actually quieter than some of the lower end Civics that we've done in the past. And keep in mind, if you want the quietest Civic, to go for the Sport Touring Hybrid, where they add the most sound deadening in. Let's also quickly talk about fuel economy, because that's a strong suit for this hybrid model. 50, 47, 49 miles per gallon is what you're sitting at for this that is absolutely incredible fuel economy. It's very much right on par with things like the Toyota Corolla hybrid, which used to always have a big advantage in the fuel economy department. If you want to choose the traditional gas version, that's 34 mpg for the sport version, or 36 with the LX. So you're looking at about a 15 mpg increase by choosing the hybrid model over the traditional gas version.
Now let's do the slam dunk and airball. So for the slam dunk, we're going to say it's just how well-rounded this product is. I think it's easy to understand why this has been such a great selling vehicle generation after generation. It really is something that kind of uniquely appeals to almost everybody. Like, it could really fit anybody's lifestyle. You know, you want something athletic, it's got athleticism. You want something practical, it's got practicality, etc., etc. I could keep going on and on and on.
And now it's also incredibly efficient with that hybrid setup. Now, on the flip side, what we're going to say is the price. I think Honda knows they have a good thing here, because this certainly is priced on the higher end for the segment, that is for sure. And especially when you're talking about a trim level like the Sport Hybrid, it is over $30,000. It's $30,500 today. And the fact that we still have really a low-tech screen in here, we have cloth seats, it's missing a lot as compared to what the competition would give you at that price point. And honestly, I think I would just get the Sport Touring trim level, because it costs, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 more, but you're getting a lot more features for the money. Now, you've seen there weren't many changes for the 2026 model year, but the price also didn't change much either. It's sitting around $500 more expensive on all the trim levels for this model year. So we start at $24,595 for the base model. Of course, that elevates all the way up to about $32,295 for the Sport Touring Sedan. As you can see, we have the 2026 Civic Sport. This is also the hybrid variant, so we're sitting at $29,295, $11,550 destination. We're sitting at $30,445 as tested today. Now, if you're looking to buy a Honda Civic or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. We even have a monthly payment tool, so if you'd like to check all of that out, you can find a link to that in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just that original price, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Honda Civic's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 64.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.3%. Now, it's worth noting that is actually the best resale value percentage across any vehicle brand that we look at, so that is very, very good. Also, the Civic is one of the highest resale value cars of all time.
And when it comes to reliability, Honda also ranks very highly. So we, of course, have the Combined Reliability Index, which takes into account several trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Honda is one of the highest rated brands overall compared to other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability data, our resale values, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you do have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and Honda is including 1 year and 12,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2026 Honda Civic. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we also strive to provide you the earliest content on all types of cars. So if you like all of that, subscribe down below. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.